This week, Academy football is both historic and convincing. For Merchant Marine and Coast Guard, it was the 41st annual Secretary's Cup as one longtime coach's career comes to a climax with a third straight Cup victory.
It's the Army-Navy game. It's with smaller guys at a smaller venue, but from an intensity standpoint and a will to win on both sides, it's unparalleled.
For Air Force, quarterback Zeke Daniels sets another Falcon record, this time throwing the longest touchdown pass ever.
That was a huge play. Golly, man. Ooh, baby.
For Army, a dominant follow-up to the Commanders Classic makes the Black Knights bowl eligible and gives some new players an opportunity to play.
I just noticed a vibe on the sideline when those guys even go in.
For Navy, the Midshipmen have two priorities after the bye week as they get set for their final home game.
And find a way to get one for the seniors.
It was a week of heroes and heartbreaks, big plays and lots of push-ups. A week of goodbyes as the Coast Guard seniors say goodbye to the gridiron and Merchant Marine says goodbye to a beloved coach. It's all ahead on this edition of Behind the Lines, the Academy Football Report.
Welcome to Behind the Lines. I'm Graham Knight. This past week saw the 41st playing of the Secretary's Cup in New London, Connecticut, as Merchant Marine and Coast Guard went head-to-head in their yearly rivalry matchup. We're going to devote most of our program to this annual tradition, but before we do, let's take a look at the other Academy football games played this week. And we start with Air Force. After their heartbreaking overtime loss in the Commanders Classic to Army, the Air Force Falcons turned their attention to the Mountain West Conference opponents still on the schedule. First up, the battle for the Ram Falcon Trophy against Colorado State. It was a combination of players and a historic pass play that propelled the Falcons to a 35-21 win.
On its first possession, Air Force marched down the field in just 5 plays, set up by junior receiver turned tailback DeAndre Hughes' 56-yard run, and capped off by the first carry of the year for sophomore John Lee Eldridge III, a 16-yard touchdown dash to put the Falcons up by 7. Following a Trey Bug interception of CSU quarterback Todd Centeio, the Falcons were back at it. This time an 8-yard drive ending in a Brad Roberts 6-yard touchdown run, the first of 2 on the night for Roberts to make it 14-zip Falcons. But Colorado State was not about to be shut out of this game and came charging back with a minute left in the first to make it 14-7. And then history was made. After a pair of penalties forced Air Force to start the next drive at their own 8-yard line, quarterback Zeke Daniels unleashed a pass to Brandon Lewis along the near sideline, who streaked for 56 yards after the catch, 92 yards in all for the longest touchdown pass in Falcon history. And Air Force was up 21-7 to end the first quarter.
I caught the ball and I saw the safety chasing me, and I just said I have to go. So I just went.
I knew he was going to take it. I trust Brandon. We give a lot of guys crap if they get caught, so I had faith that he wasn't going to get caught.
Daniels also holds the record for the longest run in Air Force history, a 94-yard dash to the house against Florida Atlantic earlier this year. The Falcons put up 212 yards of offense in the first quarter alone. But by halftime, CSU had cut the lead to 21-14. But the second half belonged to the Falcons.
We were fortunate enough to have a couple of big plays, but it really wasn't until about the middle of the third quarter where you felt like, okay, we're starting to establish some stuff, and that's a credit to our guys up front, too.
Air Force held the ball for nearly 23 minutes in the second half, limiting the Rams to just 3 possessions and only 1 scoring drive. DeAndre Hughes ended the day with over 100 yards, and Roberts ended the game with 151 yards on the ground, becoming only the 5th Air Force fullback to break through the 1,000-yard mark, an achievement that hasn't been matched since 1989, when Rodney Lewis put up over 1,000 yards. And to top it off, Roberts is just 9 yards away from breaking Lewis's record for the most yards rushing in a season. And just to put an exclamation point on Roberts' rushing game, at one stretch late in the CSU contest, Roberts ran on 10 of 11 plays in the final Air Force drive that ran out the clock.
Props to the offensive line. I mean, they're getting a great push up front, and I'm just running behind them, trying to keep my feet moving and then just get those 3-4 yard gains and keep the chains moving.
After 2 games where Air Force failed to run for more than 200 yards, the Falcons put up 388 yards on the ground against CSU. still tops in FBS in rushing while gaining 508 total yards of offense.
I think we had 2 games that we were under 200 yards rushing, and that's just not who we are. And we want to take pride and become the Diesels.
The win against Colorado State, the 5th straight in their matchup with the Rams, stops a 2-game losing streak and guarantees Air Force a winning season. Next up for the Falcons, a Friday night clash featuring the prolific passing of Carson Strong and the Nevada Wolfpack. Strong is 4th in the nation in passing yards and has thrown 28 touchdowns so far this season. And now to Army. Fresh off a Commanders Classic victory, the Black Knights hosted Bucknell on Saturday at Michie Stadium and put up big numbers. For the 8th time in 15 years, Army scored more than 60 points in a game. Aaron Summers has more on the record day and Army's big 63-10 win.
Graham, 9 different Black Knights found the end zone and Army scored 42 points in the first half, while holding Bucknell scoreless through 2. With the victory, the Black Knights became bowl eligible for the 5th time in 6 years under head coach Jeff Monken.
College football games are hard to win, and I'm glad we won that one. I'm proud of our guys for getting bowl eligible and having that opportunity to play in the postseason, which is one of the great rewards of playing college football.
The Cadets worked quickly, racking up a 21-0 lead after 1 quarter of play. The Black Knights scored 6 touchdowns on 7 first-half possessions. Of the 9 Cadets that found pay dirt, for 3, it was their first touchdown of their career. Running backs Markins Pierre, Shakori Williams, and Ijon Marshall.
That was an amazing experience. Honestly, the offensive line did it all. The blocking schemes up front and just getting in the end zone. The guys were there embracing me.
The only thing that stopped the Army offense was Mother Nature. A rain delay halted play between halves for nearly 90 minutes.
It was a great first half. All 3 phases, offense, defense, special teams, were all able to have success, and we're able to get the job done.
Defensively, Army held Bucknell scoreless until 4 minutes to go in the third, thanks to some aggressive play. For the 4th time this season, the Black Knights forced a takeaway on their opponent's opening drive, an interception by linebacker Andre Carter. However, for Coach Monken, it was the play of those who've seen limited action this season that left a mark.
Just really proud of the younger guys and the more inexperienced guys, I should say. They got a chance to get in there and play. And then defensively, just hold them off the scoreboard for the entire first half, really with the guys that are the travel squad players.
When it was all said and done, Army put up 486 total yards of offense, 428 on the ground versus the FCS opponent. The Black Knights had 18 different rushers gain yardage. That's the most by Army in a single game in 21 years.
You know, our run game is not just those offensive linemen. It's the receivers and the tight ends, the slots and the B-backs, and you know, everybody gets involved. And I thought they did a good job. You know, we had very few plays where we didn't get 3 or 4 or 5 yards, and so it was a good day running the football for sure.
Next up, the Black Knights returned to Michie Stadium for Senior Day to close out a 2-game homestand and their regular season home finale against Massachusetts. The Minutemen are 1-9 on the season and coming off a 35-10 loss to Maine. Graham?
Thank you, Aaron. And by the way, Army linebacker Andre Carter not only had an interception in the game against Bucknell, but he also registered another quarterback sack. He's now at 10.5 for the season and is second behind Will Anderson of Alabama in the FBS. And now to Navy. It's the final 3 games of the season, 2 in conference, and of course America's game in 3 weeks against Army. But the 2-7 campaign so far is disappointing all around for the players and coaches alike. And as Diane Roberts reports, the focus this week is to finish out strong for the seniors.
Out of contention for a conference title and assured of a losing season, the Mids are looking to show strong in the final weeks of 2021. First on the calendar, their final home game of the year against East Carolina and the traditional Senior Day.
When you realize the finality of playing your last game in Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium, I think it's really emotional for these players. The program is built on developing, and the seniors are the leaders. And this has been as good a class as I could set as leaders that I've ever been around.
Head coach Ken Niumatalolo points to the leadership of his senior co-captains, linebacker Diego Fago, who leads the team in tackles, Safety Kevin Brennan, whose season was cut short from injury and underwent surgery last week. Receiver Michael Cooper, the captain of all the athletic team captains at Navy. And Chance Warren, the all-purpose back who's done it all this year, rushing, receiving, and returning kicks. It's their resilience that impresses Coach Niamat, despite the disappointing season.
This group of seniors, I've just been so impressed with them. You know, it's hard as a coach to come in. You can't be down when you come on the field and see these guys running around.
And what will it be like stepping on the home turf for the final time?
It's going to be an emotional day for me. I know I'm going to miss that stadium, miss playing in our home field. It's a rush. You feel the love and the praise in the crowd, oozing over from the stands. It's a dream come true every week.
The Pirates of ECU are 6-4 on the season and are coming off an overtime win against Memphis, which made them bowl eligible. They feature a potent offense behind running back Keaton Mitchell, who's nearing 1,000 yards on the season, and quarterback Holton Ahlers, who passed for 313 yards last week. His favorite target, wideout Tyler Snead, who caught 13 passes against Memphis. But the task at hand for the Midshipmen, win one at home for the seniors.
None of us is blinked. None of us is batted eye. We just come back to work every single day, and we're looking to finish off the season 3-0. So that's what I love most about this team.
Hopefully we can send them out the right way and finish strong.
Thank you, Diane. I know all of us here at Behind the Lines are rooting for those seniors. Next up on our show, it's time to turn our attention to the Secretary's Cup and the annual Coast Guard Merchant Marine matchup. It might not be Army versus Navy, but the rivalry is just as intense, and Behind the Lines was there for the 41st game played this past weekend. We'll bring you all the action when the Academy Football Report continues. Welcome back to Behind the Lines. I'm Graham Knight. Coast Guard and Merchant Marine have met 50 times, but this past weekend was the 41st clash to see who would claim the Secretary's Cup. The Mariners brought a 7-1 record to New London. By contrast, the Bears were riding a 6-game losing streak. And the Mariners wasted no time behind the triple option offense directed by quarterback Ian Blankenship. On its first drive, Merchant Marines went 71 yards in 5 minutes and 46 seconds, capped off by an Alex Kiernan 3-yard run to make it 7-zip Merchant Marine. And the Mariners never looked back, scoring on their next 2 drives, first on a 9-yard Matthew Savard touchdown dash, the first of 2 on the day, and then a Blankenship to Towson Smith 45-yard touchdown pass to make it 21-0 in the first quarter. For their part, the Bears couldn't muster any offense, punting 3 times and being intercepted once in their first 4 possessions. Coast Guard had only 29 yards of offense in the first period, compared to the Mariners' 168. The Mariners added another score before the half and led 28-zip at the break. The Bears got on the scoreboard in the third, but Merchant Marines put up 3 more touchdowns in the second half with drives of 64, 71, and 58 yards, twice on the ground and once through the air. For the day, the Mariners put up 435 yards rushing and their tops in Division III running the ball this season. The 49-14 final score added 1 more win to Merchant Marine head coach Mike Toop's record as he prepares to retire after this week. But most importantly, as a Merchant Marine alum, it was a chance to sing second in his final Secretary's Cup.
I think that's what's just awesome about this game. As I've said to everyone, it's the Army-Navy game. It's with smaller guys at a smaller venue, but from an intensity standpoint and a will to win on both sides, it's unparalleled.
The Mariners concluded the regular season with an impressive 8-1 record, second place in the NUMAC. They averaged more than 46 points per game and took their only loss on the year to NUMAC champion Springfield. On the flip side, it was a much different story for the Bears as they end the season 2-8 and on a 7-game losing streak. But C.C. Grant, finishing his first full year as head coach, is looking to the future potential of his squad.
So we got some kids coming back. And I think they start to understand what it's going to take to get to the level that they want to get to, that we need to get to, the work that they're going to have to put in to do that. So the future's bright. You take your lumps sometimes. You look up the scoreboard and it don't work out in your favor. But these kids are determined.
But I think it really speaks a lot to what we have going, the foundation we have going this year and the next year. We have so many key components, and it's just the guys are coming together. And the more that we work together and you figure out where we belong and what our jobs are as a unit, we're going to be fine. And we're just trying to figure that out this year, but I think we have it. And just shout out to the seniors because they showed us the most love and the most leadership I've seen in my life.
Oh, and by the way, Coach Toop and the Mariners will have one last shot on their gridiron this season. Merchant Marine will take on Western New England University in the New England Bowl this coming weekend, which will cap off a long, distinguished career. And when Behind the Lines comes back, we'll hear more about the life and times of one of the most successful coaches in Merchant Marine history as he wraps up a 40-plus year career on the sidelines. Welcome back to Behind the Lines. I'm Graham Knight. Who says you can't go home? Well, don't tell that to Merchant Marine head coach Mike Toop. He came home to Kings Point 17 years ago to a program in search of its identity. And along the way, he helped build the character of hundreds of future military men as well as a football program.
Mike Toop starred as a linebacker for Kings Point in the mid-'70s, a 4-year letterman and captain his senior year, good enough to get a tryout with 2 NFL teams. But he turned to coaching while fulfilling his Naval Reserve commitment, first at the high school level and then at college. With stops at Colgate, Union, and Albany, Toop honed his skills as a defensive genius in the 80s. He then moved to Penn, and in his 7 years there, the Quakers won 3 Ivy League titles and were undefeated twice. In fact, his defense was ranked tops in Division I AA in 1994. His next stop was as defensive coordinator at UConn before taking his first head coaching gig at Davidson. At Davidson, he compiled a 17-22 record, finishing second in the Pioneer League 3 of his 4 years there. And then in 2005, he returned to his alma mater.
The advantage for me has always been I'm an alum. And even though it was a completely different era, the basic dynamics of the place haven't changed. You know, you've got in-doc, you've got academics, you're playing ball, you got C-year. And I knew firsthand the opportunities these guys would have leaving. And, you know, I was recruited by Army and Navy, kind of committed to Navy on a visit and turned it down after I visited Kings Point.
His first years back at Kings Point were lean. Even though he became head coach in 2005, his winning season didn't come until 2016. But he's going out on a winning note. His last 6 years have all been winning seasons, including an 8-1 mark so far this year, tying the most wins in a season in school history. One turning point for Coach Toop, his decision to go to the triple option.
I think probably the biggest mistake I made in coaching was I didn't go to it sooner. I'm a defensive guy, and 1 year I was coaching at Colgate. We're playing Yale. They're running the triple, and on 3 consecutive plays, we put a quarterback out of the game. And that's the downside of the triple, is that your quarterback's getting banged. We're not D1 or the other guys where you're getting slots so you can bring in, you can get 3 guys and get guaranteed recruits, those types of things. So I was always a little bit concerned from that standpoint, but I mean, it was 2010, we lost the game 13-6 and should have won it and dropped 8 passes and ran for about 20 yards. And I walked into a staff meeting the next day and I said, we're putting in the triple. And my offensive coordinator said, you can't do that. I said, well, I'm doing it. And we did it. Ever since then, it's made us more competitive. I've always been a guy that didn't want big, beefy guys. I want guys that can move, and it's tailor-made for this offense.
A recent beneficiary of Coach Toop's decision, junior fullback Matthew Savard, who scored 2 touchdowns in the Secretary's Cup against Coast Guard.
Coach Toop is probably one of the biggest influences on my life. I think everyone here would agree with me. All my teammates would agree. You're not going to get a better coach. The guy was amazing. What he's done for the program's amazing. Being a grad from the school, I think, was one of the most important parts of him being the head coach. He gets it. He gets what we go through every day, and he brought the program to where it is. It's a program of guys who really love each other. It's a brotherhood now, and that's all thanks to him.
And that appreciation from his players is the reward that means the most to this 45-year coaching veteran.
I'm an old school guy, and old school, the warranty on that went out about 10 years ago, but I've been fortunate. My guys have listened, and they've really bought in.
An old school guy who got a bit emotional after his team's 3rd consecutive Secretary's Cup win.
It was tough during the alma mater. You know, the last time you're hearing that, it's, you know, it pulled at some strings.
As a player, Mike Toop never lost to Coast Guard. Last week's win gave him 3 straight as a coach. Not a bad way to wind up. As for his legacy, the coach says he's an old school guy who preached mental toughness and never being satisfied. We salute you, Coach Toop. You'll be missed. And when Behind the Lines returns, we'll have some final sights and sounds from the 41st Secretary's Cup. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Behind the Lines. I'm Graham Knight. That's just about going to do it for us for this week. Remember, you can always catch our weekly show on our website at BehindTheLinesTV.com. That's BehindTheLinesTV.com. We publish it every Friday at 7 a.m., and we're working hard to cover Academy football 24/7. So be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube. As we close out this week's show, we leave you with this video essay edited by Dan Hupp, and one last look at the sights and sounds of the Secretary's Cup. Thanks for watching this week. We look forward to seeing you again right here on Behind the Lines, the Academy Football Report.
Probably the most important game for the Coast Guard Academy. Obviously really excited for the game.
Do whatever works on offense and keep trying to get stops on defense.
I'm excited to be here today, and go Bears.
Go KP, beat Coast Guard.
Let's go, beat Coast Guard.